Minnesota is a team that I had not seen a lot until I started really watching and preparing for this game, and they're a little unique, maybe, in the fact that they're very, very big. Coffee plays a lot at the point, is having a phenomenal Big Ten campaign to this point, and then when you really stop and look at Jordan Murphy and the career he's put together, he moved into fourth all-time in the history of the Big Ten. He just passed a young man that plays for the Golden State Warriors and played at Michigan State that was a pretty good player. And when you think that he's just passed him and he's got another 14, 15, 16, 20 games left in the season, it's pretty astonishing to pass Draymond that easy and that early. But they're a very, very good rebounding basketball team. They get to the foul line a great deal, and then they are kind of on a quiet side, one of the better transition teams in our conference, maybe in the country. And they do a great job of pitching ahead. McBriar, a senior, is playing great of late. And so this is a team that has tremendous physical size. I like their two freshmen a lot that are fitting in nicely. The Turo kid in the middle, and then Gabe is Kalshur is quietly having a very, very good freshman year. So this is a very good basketball team. Richard's doing a great job in terms of molding them when they don't have a true point. Washington kid's coming off the bench. He's playing better. But they're a team that hurts you the old-fashioned way. They just try to smash you on the boards, get to the foul line a bunch, and then make you shoot shots over a contested hand, and they're doing that very well this year.
Just with the recent stretch of your guys' Big Ten games, have you seen the team show an emphasis on how important it is for a home Big Ten game to try and get this one?
Well, we obviously lost the Ohio State game to the United Center, and so it's very difficult to play, 4 games away from home. We try to put emphasis on every home game, and that's for many years has been kind of the formula: win at home and try to go get as many as you can on the road, and so yeah, there's emphasis on that. We know we've played better at home. It's very challenging in this league. Everybody's good, and there's nothing that guarantees you a win just because you're home in front of your fans. And yet, I'll take that playing in State Farm Center in front of our people every night. It gives us a great advantage.
Coach in the back. You, Io, and Trent all mentioned the rebounding ability of Minnesota. What do you kind of have to do to neutralize that tomorrow night, and maybe particularly that of Jordan Murphy?
Well, you've got to put your gloves on. You got to fight. The one thing that Jordan does, he's relentless. He never accepts a block out. And it's really, really easy to get consumed with him. And then you look at Turo, the freshman. He's averaging 3.2 offensive rebounds a game. Those are elite numbers, and they do a great job of getting underneath you and riding you back up the floor. They almost run out of bounds at times to get inside you, and you have to do your job early to block them out. And then you've got Coffee at 6'8", who plays the point, and it's unnatural to have other teams' point guards go to the glass, and yet he's a good rebounder, and so they throw different things at you. We've got to bring our mindset, though, that it's picking a fight, so to speak, and we have to be very, very diligent, have a high level of concentration, and making sure we hit guys, and we've spent time on that this week, and as we do any week, but it's a big key for their success.
You mentioned, Amir at the point at 6'8" is different, but just what does he do maybe with his size and length that at maybe running the point that shorter guards just maybe don't do as well?
Well, he's tremendous at getting it to his spots. He's figured out how to, for a young man that plays upright in terms of having size, being big. A lot of point guards, snake their way into the paint and get around you with quickness or speed. He's very, very good at getting into his spots, and then he's got the ability to jump over you. And they do a great job of pitching the ball ahead in transition. And then he is electric in the open court. And, one or two dribbles from half court, and he's at the rim. So that size is effective for him. And then he shares the ball. He's got vision over the top of smaller guards. And he's been effective doing that.
You've seen a few true point guards this year, and you've had success forcing turnovers. What do you guys have to do to negate the other abilities that he has?
Well, one, we've got to make sure that we're sprinting back. Transition defense is important. We've got to make sure that we're concentrating on stopping the ball as early as we can. That slows it down. And then I think the other thing is if you can get on the glass yourself and bother them, and they've got to take the ball out of the net and play good offense, that slows the team down a great deal. And again, they're a team that rebounding wise is potentially as good as any team in the country.
Brad, is it an extra challenge to scheme against a team like Minnesota when they seem pretty balanced in their offense? If you try to take one thing away, does something else emerge with them?
Yeah, and that's where Gabe has had such an impact in Clisher, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but he's turned into a tremendous weapon from the three-point line. McBriar's been a consistent, high 30s guy through his career, and gives you that. But anytime you can score at the rim, you scheme from the rim out. And now those guys making shots, and then Coffee being able to get it to spots at 15 feet and bounce over you. They're a pretty well-rounded package at the offensive end.
And with the 0-5 mark in the Big Ten, does it feel like there's growing pressure just to get that first win? Is that something that you sense the team carrying just to get that first conference win and get that out of the way?
None at all. I think we want to win them all. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any more or less pressure. I think we approach every game to try to win it. I think I told the team today before the game. I said, we lost by 10 to what will probably be the number one team in the country now, and really, we're trying to understand the detail. So it's one defensive possession in each half that went bad, and it's one offensive possession in each half. It's a 4-possession game in a 10-point game, and that's how little separation there really is. And yet you've got to be able to accomplish those things, and it's whether it's a free throw lane blockout or whether it's a defensive rotation that we don't make that leads to a foul and an and one. You do one of those in each half, and that's 4 possessions on both ends of the court. And getting our guys to truly understand how important that is what we keep striving for. And consistency is becoming better. We've jumped dramatically defensively in terms of all of our efficiency rating numbers. We're running offense better. And yet there is that fine line, and it's that one possession each half. A communication error between Kipper and AJ, 2 veterans in transition, gives Charles Matthews a dunk. Well, you eliminate that, and now all of a sudden, you're in a different position. And it's those are the things that when we start doing those things, the outcomes on the scoreboard will be different, and we keep working towards those every day. And that's youth, and that's some of the things that we're trying to overcome.
Brad, what has impressed you most about Iowa over the past 4 games?
Well, I'd be hard challenged to find any player in the country that in every aspect of the game is playing any better. You can look number-wise, but I mean from starting from ground zero as a freshman and looking at where he's at now, I mean, we were just talking after practice about how much confidence he's playing with at both ends. The game is slowing down for him. And I think that everything becomes rushed, everything becomes new when you first get here, and it's you can look at the missed layups in that stretch. Now he's finishing through contact and taking hits. Every time he shoots it, I think it's going in. But more importantly, he's making the right reads, and he's making the right reads defensively. He's gained so much defensively. I mean, he's playing way beyond his years. He's playing in a very, very mature way, and that's a tribute to him.
Aaron, Trent, and Kipper all had they all made a 3 against Michigan, kind of breaking some long scoring droughts from behind the arc for those 3. How much emphasis have you kind of put on that 3-point shot? How important is that moving forward to kind of maybe get over the hump of winning those close games? Yeah,
there's no doubt we need the ball to go in the basket, and we feel like we're getting pretty good shots. I think that in Trent's case, he got great shots. He was 3 of 5 the other night, and we want Trent to be able to make plays. And then, Aaron and Kip, we need those guys to make baskets and make shots. We need them to take good shots, and we need them to take them at the right times in the shot clock. Aaron shot the ball real well this week in practice, and Kipper made a few in the last game. So we hope those mini slumps, if you want to call them that, are behind us, and ball starts going in again.
Allen and Tev kind of struggling to see minutes. What are some of the things you want to see them working on, just so maybe that could change for them?
Yeah, and Allen's had an unbelievable week of practice. Tev was really good today. Allen's becoming very, very comfortable in our schemes and what we're doing. I think that it's fair to say he's got an opportunity to get more minutes. Tev, in all fairness, was gone. He's missed half the season. He's still kind of getting sea legs back and the nervousness and some of that out. It's really hard to do that in Big Ten play. And but he continues to work and get better. And it's for those guys, it's consistency and they've both made huge strides defensively, where I wasn't very comfortable with them early. And Allen in particular is a guy that does everything we ask. I mean, his hustle play the other day, diving on the floor, his ability to go rebound, he's made huge strides, and I'm starting to become a really, really big fan of his consistent effort.
What is it maybe about Iowa's game where when he's, with the ball in his hands going downhill, that he has been such a threat in the last few weeks?
Well, I think there are 2 things. I think one, he's figured out defensively how teams are playing him. I think when you see a lot of gap teams, when we call them gap defense teams, they're always going to be at the elbows and they're always going to be at the blocks, and creating that angle. He's done a much better job. And Iowa's not the most physical player. He's learned how to get guys into ball screens better. He's learned how to change pace to keep guys off balance that are actually guarding him. He's done a great job of keeping guys on his hip and absorbing contact, and that's not easy to do. And but I think his just his confidence level handling it, just his seeing the court, seeing the game slow down, so his natural instincts take over in those cases. But we talk about that unless you really played the game and understand how it has to slow down mentally for you to be really effective. That's probably the biggest key, and that's just coming from confidence and experience.
Along the same lines as Allen and Tevin, we haven't seen much of Samba for a few games. Is that something that you need to see more of him, or is that a product of Adonis starting to get more comfortable coming back?
Maybe a little of both. Maybe matchups. I think that I go back to the same thing I've said for some time with Samba. It's been it's tougher for him because he wasn't here. He's still playing catch up. He's still understanding there's certain situations I don't feel as comfortable with him in as I do AD, and yet today he was really, really good in practice and gives me puts a smile on my face when I see him impacting the game with his athleticism and his shot blocking and catching balls at the rim and dunking them. And those are things that in small doses he's doing a great job of.
Coach, you're playing a pretty difficult schedule. Do you feel, kind of especially towards the early part of the season, did that kind of prepare you now and the team mentally and physically for kind of what's to come in the Big Ten? Well,
there's no doubt our schedule's been one of the toughest in school history. It's one of the toughest in the country this year. I think that there's a yes and no to that answer. I think that we've seen just about everything. I think we've seen pros. We've seen, arguably we've seen now the top two teams in the country in Michigan and Gonzaga. We've seen big physical. But I think on the other hand, there's some advantage to staying at home, playing some games that you, especially with a young team, that you gain some confidence. You get to see guys in maybe a less stressful situation, and they gain confidence in that. So there's some give and take with that. I've said it many times. We're going to try to play the best schedule we can every year, and the Big Ten provides that with 20 conference games, but I'm proud of this team because we have played a tough schedule. We got to find that one or two possessions or three or four possessions, whatever it is, that gets us over the hump, and then it will really pay off for us.
Had a similar start to conference play last year, and then also at Oklahoma State. I mean, obviously 3 different teams. Were there any similarities that you can draw between those 3 seasons?
Yeah, the other teams were really good. You look at the Oklahoma State year and who we played and where we played them. We really had one bad loss, and that was Kansas State at home, and then we made the change. Last year was a blur. So, I think the one thing that it doesn't help starting 4 in a row away from home this year. I don't know. I don't look at it that way. I look at it pretty much game to game and year to year. The Big Ten's the best conference in the country this year. There's no doubt. It's an old league, and it's getting key performances from Michigan, the Michigan States, and they're playing great. But there's no easy night, and winning is really hard. And I hope you ask me that question when we win 9 out of 10 like we did at Oklahoma State, or we get going again, when it's reversed. And that's, but I think I don't think there's any real parallel to it. I think it's coincidental more than anything, and being early and building a program.
Minnesota's like the second fastest team in the conference behind Michigan State. How do you combat that? Knowing your style, is you kind of want to speed teams up sometime and turn them over.
Yeah, but I think that there's ways to do that and be effective. I think playing great offense slows a team down. You look at if you look at the Minnesota losses, and you look at the statistics behind, why they've lost. Most teams have run really good offense. There's been a certain tempo that they've played with that have kept them, kept points down, kept rebounds down, kept fouls down. Your best defense sometimes can be your offense. And, that's something we've talked a lot about. Yes, we have to get opportunities in transition. That's who we are. And you've got to make shots. And you do that, and then you start to put a little pressure on them to have to execute as well. And then, it's hard, much harder to run when we run good offense and they're getting the ball out of the net than maybe casting up threes with 17 on the shot clock and long rebounds, and that's when they really punish you.
Just how do you feel your team's coming along in the half-court offense? Trent mentioned some of the struggles has been not getting the ball to the third side as much. So how do you feel everyone's just coming along with that?
Yeah, I think it's one of the areas we're continuing to have to grow in. Ball reversal is key to any offense, and one of the things that really hurt us early in the Michigan game was trying to do too much too early. And you have to move teams. You have to make them move. Every team in the country has a bad defender, and it's usually one of the best offensive players, and that's why he's on the court. And yet you have to move those guys and find out those guys and who they are and be able to attack them. And movement does that. Movement allows for mistakes. And when we're shooting the ball, with one turn, we're not making them move much. So. And part of the problem is we're shooting the ball, we're shooting it over a contested hand, which is something I'm very frustrated with because we're not driving closeouts and we're not getting to the foul line. And that's something Trent's obviously listened to what I'm saying because we're trying to emphasize it better and become better at it. We had 2 third sides in the last game, just statistically, which is last year we were about 13 or 14. Times a game where we got it reversed. Those are pretty significant numbers. Thank you.